Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice, I could be heard right away. What up, DB? What up, chat? Oh,
What's going on? How you doing? How you been?
good, good. No complaints, no complaints. How's my macro part last week?
Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I've been on a soft leave, still updating a bit in my corner. Couldn't just leave with everything going on in the market, but to skip some streams, yeah, for sure. So pretty good, relaxed now. It seems like for me, I have a good picture on the market where we stand right now. I think that's important. So yeah, let's see what opportunities we will get in the next few days.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think it's overdue there. We're getting a little bit of a pullback now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, market has been absolutely crazy, especially ETH and altcoins in the last few days, while Bitcoin has been consolidating.
Yep.
Absolute
Yep.
massive numbers. So obviously, some profits should have been taken. That goes without saying. I hope you listened. Right? It's basically common sense that when you have 180% move in Ethereum in like 3 months, you take some off the table, and
Yep. Nine
then you
straight
run
daily
in.
candles, everything, all kinds of shit. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, look at the weekly candle on Bitcoin dominance. Did we have that this cycle? I don't think so, right? That's
Yeah, we had it was similar in November, December, like a bit slightly different, but more or less the same. Yeah. Now we're under. I have my chart out now. Now we're under the 200 EMA right on the daily. The weekly's nasty too, but yeah, very similar to your November to January sort of move. So just
yeah.
expecting at least some relief here, and of course that relief's going to come with. Um, a lot of this is going to make sense because again at this point in the cycle Bitcoin probably suffers the least drawdown while everything else suffers the larger drawdown, so let's give more market cap right
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Bitcoin, and it's normal because the drawdown is going to be a lot less, so that gives it more market cap influence, but it's not to say that these things can't continue. It's normal, guys. It's been like a good like 11 12 days of like straight down, right? So there's got to be some sort of retest. If it wants to break down, then it'll look like this. But yeah, for now it's like we had like 9 straight daily green candles on Ethereum from a range high breakout of it. Like for example, very expansive, very decisive as well. Sets the tone. For a lot of other moves in the market, but like for now, makes more sense for it to chill out. It's expected, right? So I think people are really pushing their luck if they were expecting anything higher here, without just some healthy flushes across the board. And we're seeing that mostly in the lower caps here, but I want to say the majors have kept a pretty good. They've not done too bad. I'll give it to them. But yeah, the low caps are starting to hurt a bit now, and that's normal.
But
A lot of
low,
borrowed
low caps
money,
did, low caps did the biggest numbers, right?
but
And
that's normal. That's normal.
open
They have the lowest.
Yeah, open interest has been skyrocketing. I think I read it somewhere that it was at the highest level of the cycle, right? So it means that
Yep.
a lot of greed is coming into the market, a lot of borrowed position, right? And
Yep.
yes, it will go well a few times. Dips get bought up, but at some point, these borrowed positions may be forced out of the market. That does not necessarily indicate a market top. It just it's just what it is, right? That's what we
It's
see in every
it's
uptrend, right?
it's the problem with low caps, right? And the reason why they perform so well is because, as you know, DB, they've got a way lower level of liquidity, right? So it takes a lot less to move them. And the reason why they also pull back and are so harshly, punished, is because a lot of these things don't actually have a spot demand or a true organic demand. A lot of them are on borrowed positions, like you just said. So again, when your majors start to show weakness or when they start to show lack of organic interest, and then these things get absolutely, I want to say the word belted. They get absolutely slaughtered and belted right on the borrowed side because again there's no organic demand on them, and just being honest, it's just a fact. So again you get large OI spikes, and then of course that gets wiped. So nothing out of the ordinary. Very very phase one shenanigans. A lot of secondary pairings that catch up. They get nice strong moves, but at the same time, borrowed positions, if they're not taking profit, will get hurt in a matter of no time, right? Just because again, when your majors stop to show organic demand at levels that are seen as a bit too pricey. The second these things start to draw down even a tiny bit, and as you can see, it's nothing too crazy on the majors just yet. Your low caps get hurt pretty bad. So again, it reminds me of November, December, January. It's the same scenario, same feeling, same exact thing. Bitcoin makes an expansive new move, nothing too crazy. Alts tend to go a little bit crazy as well. We start to hear talks about how it can never come down again, and then we get like a nice, I want to say 5 to 15% wipe across the board, and that's good. It's good. It's gonna, it creates moves in the market, and that's what we really want, right? Because now you've hit a lot of important levels, and these important levels, what's it called? Execute lots of volume in the market, and that doesn't go away overnight. So, for the next few weeks can get interesting. So, very nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice.
All right. So what do we got in terms of macro? It seems a bit less relevant, but I was telling the group that macro is always relevant. It just appears to be less relevant when the market is moving towards the upside, and it appears to be more relevant when the market is in a corrective phase. But the truth is that there's always macro factors that lead to financial markets moving, right? And mostly it is about liquidity, of course, but it is always relevant. But sometimes we just pay less attention to them, but they're still there. So I think there are a few things that we can discuss, like the FOMC meeting next week.
Yep.
And one thing that to me is also very important that I don't see many discussing is the interference of Trump with the Federal Reserve. So that Trump interferes with Powell is nothing new, right? He has been after Powell for weeks and weeks and weeks, basically since he joined office. And because he doesn't agree on interest rates, right? He thinks that interest rates should be way lower. Powell has not been lowering them. So he went after Powell for a while. But recently, he is attacking the Federal Reserve as an entity, right? So not only as a individual personality like Paul, but as an entity, as an organization, right? So he's been calling for investigations into the Federal Reserve, and he's been saying things like all board members are complicit with Powell, right? So it's no longer just about Powell. And I think that's not completely irrelevant, Rego, and I think that's intentional in my view, because Trump wants a weak dollar. That's there's absolutely no doubt about that because he wants to support U.S. manufacturing and exports, right? So he wants U.S. goods to be more lucrative to foreign investors, right? I was just checking a few days ago, for instance, if I live in Europe, obviously, and if I wanted to buy an iPhone in February, it would have cost me 1,200 euros. Whereas today, an iPhone would cost me 1,000 euros, right? And that's also because of the devaluation of the dollar, right? So there's some logic behind what Trump wants to achieve, which is lowering the trade deficit, right? And I think attacking or going after the Federal Reserve is not only in the interest of lowering interest rates, but I think he does it intentional in the sense that he knows that attacking an independent entity also creates uncertainty regarding the dollar, right? Because there's then uncertainty from foreign investors that say, well, the Federal Reserve is not really independent. Monetary policy is not independent of politics in the United States. Monetary policy decisions can be influenced by politicians, right? And that naturally creates uncertainty for the dollar. So I think that's intentional, whether you agree with Trump or not, that's something else. But I think he's been doing that intentionally. And that has been moving markets a bit in the last few days because it has led to a decline of the dollar in the last few hours as well. And I think that's not completely irrelevant to speculative assets. In this case, I think the reaction from speculative assets has been quite positive, right? Because when there's uncertainty in the dollar, investors look for alternative assets such as gold, which has been rising as well, such as Bitcoin that has been rising as well. So I think there's a macro macro factor that has been leading to these moves, apart from all the liquidity discussions with central banks. That's very macro, right? But in the last few days, there have been a few developments that I think have been relevant and that have influenced the price action in our markets. And I think this is one of them. So I'm not sure if you have been following, if you think that's relevant or not, but that's one of the macro developments I've noticed in the last few days that I just thought weren't discussed as intensively, naturally so, because markets have been pumping, right? So macro seems a bit less relevant, but I think that's one of the things that has been happening in the last few days in terms of the
Yeah,
macro side.
macro feels slow because, I guess for the past few months, me and you have had a lot to discuss, whether that's tariffs, whether that's, anything to do along the lines of escalations or things that could suggest uneasy tensions, right? And now it's just more like going back and forth on how they think Powell is this, Powell is that. So a lot of it is just, you know, um, nothing too serious or too set in stone. I saw his comments. I don't know where we're going with this, right? You know how I feel about this, right? I don't know where we're going with this. I don't necessarily know who's more justified in saying what they're saying or the reason why they're saying it. And I feel like this is once again another bizarre thing to talk about on the side of macro. It just doesn't come off as anything we're typically used to discussing. So I'm curious to see next though if FOMC, even though we kind of know the answer, right? I don't think we're getting any rate cuts for this month, but curious to see if there's any comments that Powell will address, right, from the press regarding the stance on his position and the constant headbutting with the administration that tries their best to work side by side with him. So I think for next FOMC, I think that's what we're looking for, right? I want to see if they're going to address or if Powell specifically is going to address the allegations that he's playing politics with an interest rate, or that the rest of his team or the rest of the board is complicit in doing so. I want to see if he'll actually take these questions head on, because I think you and I know there's no reason to discuss the rate change for next for this month. I don't think we're going to get one. It's pretty obvious we won't there. So I'm curious. I want to know if he's going to take these questions head on. I want to know if he's going to add fuel to this fire. But as far as I'm concerned, like this macro, we've just been talking. This guy. We have Trump saying, "Oh, this our interest rate should be down to 1%," and then it's just I don't know where we go from here. I don't necessarily understand the significance of it, but we are seeing a lot of people discuss this, and it goes beyond Trump at this point. I think a lot of his cabinet or a lot of his nominations, right, are kind of saying the same thing, kind of dogpiling Powell's, with the whole playing politics with an interest rate narrative. So it's interesting to see where this goes next week. I'm curious to see because I haven't seen Powell talk in quite a bit, and these allegations have definitely been cranked up a bit over the past couple of weeks. So. And then there's also the rumor of his imminent resignation. So again, I'm hoping the press asks a question regarding that, and I hope we get an answer that can at least provide us some insight. But in that sense, right, compared to the past few months, Macro's been pretty quiet, and I also think we're just a bit distracted, right? We've had we've had a booming market the past 2 weeks. So again, like macro tends to go out the window, and that's normal when markets move fast. We can't really wait on data, right? But I think that's my stance for macro this week. I mean, it's compared to the past few months, we haven't had much to really consider, right? All we're considering is is two people going back and forth once again. But we knew this would happen, right, at the start of his term. So yeah, that's about all my comments on this. I mean, yeah.
That's good comments, and I think that will be the most important aspect of the FOMC meeting, right? All these questions being addressed during the press conference, because we know that we won't get a rate cut. That's absolutely clear. But there are other issues, such as what you said about Powell resigning or not, which he will probably be asked during the conference. And I think these comments will matter a lot more than the interest rate decision. For September, it's a bit more divided now. It seemed a few weeks ago that the interest rate cut was the more likely option, and it is still is. It's at 56%. But recent inflation data has lowered that number a bit, especially CPI was a bit higher than expected and higher than
Yep.
last month. The market just interpreted that as Powell having another argument of saying, well, we will delay it again. But it still looks like there will be a rate cut in September, but that
Yeah, we
can
got a
certainly change.
58.40. Yeah.
We will still have another inflation print in August, right? With both CPI and PPI and PCE, and that can basically change the numbers.
Yeah, I feel like as the month goes on, this is gonna go back to people expecting no rate cut, right? I just how many times in a month, like how many months in a row have we seen this where 2 months in advance we'll see like a good like 75% favorability for a rate cut, and then by the time we're 2-3 weeks away, it's just it's like 80% probability that we get no rate cut. I don't know. I mean, this is the closest we've been on a month to month basis where we still have a favorable chance, but like 60-40 is nothing too convincing, nothing too leaning. So I guess we have to wait and see, right? I guess give it a couple more weeks and we'll know for sure. But man, yeah, it doesn't look like we're gonna get it because again, I think like last month and the month before this is way more tilted, right, in one side or the other, and just again, it's coming back down to like an even. Most likely, next FOMCs is gonna give us a clearer picture, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. It would be weird to go through the whole summer without a rate cut, especially since we knew at the start of the year we'd probably get one. But no budging so far. But I will say that whatever tariffs have been imposed since April, they haven't been as bad as I think everybody was thinking. At least not me. Hasn't done that much on inflation as much as we thought it would. Yeah, could it have been better without him? I think so. But at the same time, nothing too. Definitely not what analysts and media was projecting or expecting. So in that sense, I guess it's changed the story a bit. But yeah, it's
We,
been
we
a
also
pretty
have the tariff deadline on August 1st, right? He's delayed the additional tariffs in early July to
yeah. He
August
gave a
1st.
30-day or a 60-day or
Yeah.
a 30-day, right? It was one of
30
those.
day. It's
Yeah.
on August 1st that the deadline ends. So that could be relevant for the markets as well, at least short term. We will need to see if he actually imposes new tariffs or if he finds resolutions. Obviously, for the market, it's always better if there are more trading deals, right? There's less uncertainty regarding that. It's always better if there are no macro developments that interfere with the price action. So obviously, more trade deals is better for the market, and more tariffs is not necessarily what we want to see, but at least in the short term, I think like on the greater scheme of things, the structure of the market and the charts that we look at, tariffs not necessarily change anything, right? But it can lead to some volatility on more lower time frames for sure.
Oh, got a bit distracted there. My bad. Yeah. What do
The
we think,
market
DB?
moving
Do we
now.
just before we
About what?
move forward, what are we thinking? Think another extension? Thinking something gets
I mean,
resolved here, or probably another extension, right?
he has a pretty nice track record of delaying decisions, right? I mean,
Yeah.
also with the tariffs, it's always been delaying, delaying, delaying. I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Yeah, I think that makes most sense as well. Might put down the clamps a bit on specific countries, but then again, if they give him something he's looking for, he'll probably extend again. We've seen his playbook by now, right? I'm pretty sure we understand how he tends to go about them, you know. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, will it have an effect on the market overall too much? I'm not so sure. We'll see. We'll see. Because I already think we've priced in the worst of it, right? Unless things were to get somehow worse. I don't see that, but hey, markets have done crazier things. We're about 8 minutes out until New York opens, so this should be an interesting one.
Yeah, futures have been doing pretty good actually at the new all-time high today.
Yep, looking at it right now.
S&P.
Yeah, yeah, we're grinding right on it. I mean, legacies have been pretty nice. I don't think that's been sending us back at all. Even days where it doesn't decide to push much higher, or just decides to shuffle around, do nothing for the day. I don't think they've hurt us that much, but then again, I don't think we've been tested just yet. I mean, we've been. This is a pretty incredible chart when you do consider all things. So, yeah, first down day might have some significance on the market itself, especially our market. But as far as I'm concerned, we've been in the clear for quite some time now. So, again, legacies aren't having an impact like they typically do with us, but at the same time, it's been kind of smooth sailing, all things considered, on the major indexes. So, yeah, nothing too bad. Nothing too bad. Because we're in the middle of summer, right? We've had a pretty slow macro side of things, right? So the real talk, and that's from all participants everywhere, is how crypto's doing, right? I mean, quite some significant moves in a short amount of time. By now, you guys know. We've had Asia session bidding and New York session bidding in unison. We've had some incredible numbers of inflows on Ethereum's ETFs for the first time, and I want to say my recollection, right?
I don't know what to think about that, to be honest.
In what sense?
I mean, it's nice, in the sense that it's nice to see it because it does send prices higher. But in the last 2 years, every time we have huge influxes in ETF inflows, it always means that we are close to a local top. If you know what I mean.
It's likely, right? It could be a number of things, but yeah, I understand that for sure. It's just it shows you that when there is interest, I don't know, because I can't say ETFs are a retail interest, right? It's more the side of like accredited investors, right? But it shows that it could definitely put strong amounts of inflows, right? Which is something I've never seen before, right? It's something I've never considered for months and months and months and months. Ethereum failed to show any significant numbers like that, and then in a matter of a week, managed to surpass its previous record by almost double, right? I think we saw over $1 billion of inflows in 48 hours or 2 trading days, which was, again, very, very impressive for me. Something I severely undermined, might I add. So it's a start. It's a start. But yeah, if it's signs of a local top, we wouldn't be fools to tell you this, that maybe a bit of a, hold on, maybe I can hide my drawings here just so it's clearer. Maybe a bit of a healthy retest, right? But again, this move has been significant. It's been strong and decisive, and this on the grand bigger picture can go back for these 4K highs again. It can absolutely do that. Just got to give it time. It needs to fetch some healthy buyers. And again, if it's coming from the ETF side, right? And the only reason why I emphasize this from the ETF side is because that would suggest organic spot demand, which is, again, these whole write-ups, we haven't seen that before, right? So that's the only reason why I'm labeling it and highlighting it. Yeah, it might be a local top, but for once, there's organic spot demand.
Yeah, the thing is that ETF investors are accredited investors, but there's some retail behavior in this group of investors I've observed in the last few months and years, right? For instance, when Bitcoin had that drop to 75K, which was a perfect daily bullish divergence and a nice buying opportunity, you had millions of people selling Bitcoin through ETFs, right? So if it was the other way around, if people or ETFs would have been increasing when Bitcoin would be dropping, and decreasing when Bitcoin would be rising, then I would say yes, we're dealing with reasonable accredited investors, right? But the behavior has been quite retail alike, right? How does it make make it any different from us, right? Even in the crypto market, people are more interested in buying when things are pumping. They're less interested in buying when things are dropping, right? So it's very similar to ETF flows, and I think this can also be statistically proven. Whenever Bitcoin ripped towards new highs, or in this case, it was more sentiment around ETH, that inflows increase, and on the other way around, when there's fear in the market, there have been heavy outflows from ETFs as well. So that's what I mean with I'm not sure what I feel about ETF inflows increasing for Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, when I mention accredited investors, it mostly refers to the fact that someone that is an accredited investor has a certain level of capital, right, to be considered. So I guess it's like kind of like intermediate money. It's not corporation money, but it's definitely on the higher scale of who could participate in the market. So I do mention that because I think it's noteworthy, right? It's not this is both like it's noteworthy, right? That who's garnering an interest to this. Credited investors, it's not everybody that has that title, right? It's not that they have any more significance than a retail participant. It's just their size is a bit on the higher scale of stuff, but it's definitely not corporate level interest, right? Whereas I would say Ethereum gathers interest from now we could say accredited investors and smaller participants, whereas I feel more like Bitcoin's ETF inflows, come from I want to say a corporate interest, almost a treasury interest. So it's different, right? There's different perspectives on both of them. High ETF inflows usually indicative of a FOMO of some sort, but at the same time, when I do say this, these two record inflows or these 2 days of record inflows were somewhere towards 2,700 and 2,800, right? I'm sorry, 2,800 to about 2,900. So again, it's not that they were wrong. It's not that they made the wrong, but they're in a comfy position, right? If they were to hold it on an interim. So again, like those inflows started much earlier, and that's something to keep in mind. Could be an early rotational play, could be a number of things, but nonetheless, worth discussing at the very least, right? We've had a number of things like this. I think what we had Sailor this Monday announce almost $750 million in a single weekend. We had 8 billion worth of Bitcoin sold OTC, and it was sold instantly, meaning a buyer was found immediately for that. I find these things incredibly, interesting, right? Because I think it's just a testament to where we are in the market. You have someone without any hesitation was willing to buy 80,000 BTC over the counter, no issues, immediately. So stuff like that, I think is worth talking about. I think it's worth mentioning at the very least, right? We did have you guys saw it, right, over the past 2 weeks. We had this. I call it an ancient wallet because it's one of the only wallets that remained from that era. Was finally dormant. Finally started to offload. Large quantities of Bitcoin around the 123,000, 120,000 area. And in a matter of time was approached to buy it all OTC, no questions asked, and got out. He got out. So that's something to mention. That person will never have that level of influence in terms of supply ever again, and now that belongs to someone else who, once again, sees value in it being worth 118K per, which means their intention is not to sell anytime soon. And that's another interesting thing to talk about. Another headline worth our attention, right? So if we're trying to consider like all kinds of macro scenarios, right? So just to put that into perspective.
We got New York Open now.
Yep. Okay. Cheeky little gap up, but that's from futures, right? It was kind of pretty much like that. Everything else is kind of okay, but we're in the first minute or two, right? So we'll know after 30 minutes how this is going.
Yeah, usually the moves right after New York Open get retraced. So whether that's a pump or a drop.
It's a pretty.
We got a sneaky daily div on Bitcoin, by the way. No, you don't look at that, but I
Oh
personally
no, I
use
do.
average. A
I
sneaky
do.
little one after today's daily close. It's not a perfect one, but it is still a divergence on the daily. So would be interesting. I mean, I personally wouldn't mind Rego if we get some dip to the previous all-time high to like 112, 111. What would you think about that?
I mean, that's my level right here, right? So yeah, I love it as much. I love it just as much as you. I just think the more this consolidates like this, the higher time goes on. We probably are going to be forced to go somewhere towards 114. If we're lucky, we get a wick, but annoying to have to bet on that. So
I know what you mean because 111 is obviously a very crowded zone, right? Everybody would
yeah,
speculate on the previous all-time high, the previous highest weekly close. I mean, it looks perfect, right, for bidding. So makes me suspect that we either don't get it at all and we bottom higher than that, or we just slide right through it. But I think it seems a bit more likely that we bottom above it and then just leave everybody sidelined that is speculating on that. But obviously, we will always need to evaluate local triggers for our
yep,
entries. But if I had to guess, usually when there's a very perfect zone to be bidding, we don't get it. It was very similar with 75K, right? Everybody was looking for 73, 72, which was the previous all-time high area, and then we just bottomed at 75K, and everybody was waiting for 72, 73, or 70 or 69. Basically, was sidelined.
yep.
So could see a very similar scenario here unfolding as well.
Yep, and in the past, I've learned from trying to get perfect entries, especially on large macro corrections, and that's why that time around, I started, if I'm not mistaken, um, from 75, or I'm sorry, even way higher, like from like 90K down to 75 to 72. Really, it was from 90K to 72, and my real big bulk of bids were between 75 to 72, and I barely got filled on my large orders. Right, so yeah, a lot of the times when you're bidding an aggressive uptrends or an aggressive bull market, because that's what Bitcoin is for quite a while now, an aggressive bull market. You need to be a little bit more lenient on where you're willing to buy. Sometimes you might just need to take the haircut a bit, get a bit front runny. It's a very competitive asset, right? To get perfect fills on. And again, the longer this goes, if it just continues to consolidate like this, we might be forced to just buy here, and it'll continue to push up. It all depends on how long it can stay at this price point, right? Because again, we go into another weekend and in a couple of days where Saylor just promises another 500, 700 million because again, his stock can continue to raise those type of funds. Like we're in trouble. Like we're in trouble in terms of like how much supply is so easily available on the open market. Like if that continues every week, like it'll get nasty. It'll be difficult to get these perfect pullbacks. So, but yeah, I do like your 112 level. I had it highlighted here for a while. I'm not sure we get it, but if we do, it'll be fast. I don't think you have time to react in a moment. You kind of just need to set it. All right, anywhere between 112 to 110. I think is a fair thing. And if more time goes on, like again, we're talking like another few days, and we're still just kind of like shuffling like this. It's unlikely. It's unlikely we get it. We'll probably do something like this. So very competitive asset, especially when it's trending. And we're in all-time highs in price discovery, right? So something to
Yeah.
keep in mind.
I don't think that there has to be any news to lead to a deeper pullback, Bean, because of what's been happening in the market, right? As I said, a lot of borrowed money entering the market, a lot of people chasing on perps. So that uh, a pullback could come just from those getting liquidated or partially liquidated, right? It's very normal to see flushes after such impulsive moves. It's not always news that per se leads to moves in the market. I'm not saying we're getting flushed today or anytime soon. It is possible, right? So as long as it is possible, something you need to consider is to switch more to spot, guys. I mean, if you have too many perps limits, especially close by, when it happens, you're not prepared, right? You'll likely get it stopped out on many of those. So be careful with that. Switch more to spot, less to perps under these conditions. As I said, total open interest at the highest level recorded in this cycle. Funding in the last few days was also getting a bit overheated. RSI overbought on several higher time frames, right? So just something to consider. It's not about necessarily predicting it. It might never happen, right? But it's important to be prepared in case it happens. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trading in between. You can still play your levels, of course, if you have a nice setup. But it just means to be a bit more careful and be prepared if it happens. And it's already happening. I mean, this is already a flush, right? Maybe
Yeah, that's
not,
what I was gonna say. We've already had quite a drop here, but you know,
yeah.
it can get a bit nastier, right? It's just, but again, like if you assume you're in a bullish trend, you assume you're in an aggressive trend, 6 to 10% drops. Again, as long as you're not oversizing it, just taking a fair chance on it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? You're gonna have to find an entry to bid at some point. Just problem is, it's like people think, oh, that's it, that's all I'm getting, and they max size their port, right, on a silly trade, and again, they're just rushing, they're impatient. But yeah, the 6 to 10%, even the 15% pullbacks, like if you're not going to try there, you definitely shouldn't be trying 20% higher, for example, right? So again, it's a bit of give and take, but I think people tend to oversize when it's time like this. So.
Yeah. And everything you're seeing here is normal, right? You may be used to green candles only, but it's normal for people to take profits, and it's normal for these red candles to accelerate even more, right? Because there's a lot of irrational behavior in the market, a lot of inexperienced traders that just recently joined, and they're now panicking, right? Why are my positions not going up? They have been going up for days and days and days. How is it possible that now I'm in a loss, right? And then obviously that leads to a chain reaction, right? And to deeper flushes. But in my view, that's good opportunities to add exposure to the market. It's always good to buy the blood and not the greed in the market.
DB, I don't think we discussed the Genius Act, which I think is pretty huge for us, right? Not huge, but it's definitely something we need to talk about. I mean, we had Crypto Week last week, and I think we kind of just completely forgot about discussing that. I mean, it's nothing crazy, right? Excuse me, it's nothing crazy, right? But it's the stepping stones to crypto being discussed every single day on the big stage, especially for the U.S. economy, right? So I feel like we completely missed that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's more regarding stablecoins, if I remember correctly, right? But it's a stepping stone to legitimizing crypto in the States and what's legal, what's illegal, right? And that gives stepping stones for businesses and etc. to take it more seriously.
Yeah, I haven't followed that at all, to be honest, because I wasn't here last week. So if you have more information on that, maybe you can cover it.
It's mostly stablecoin and legislation talk, but once again, it gives a stepping stone. It gives a clear seas for how a business can operate in the States, what they can do, what they can't do. It's helping us. I want to say find a fine line between traditional financing and digital finance and how they can come together, or what would be the proceedings to make it come together. It's the start. It's the start. It's going to take some work, but as they promised, they would present something within the 3-month period that they promised, and they did that, and they managed to get it passed. So it's a good start. But that's about it, right? I think a lot of it is not going to make a whole. I mean, to say it hasn't had an impact on the market, it for sure played a role, right? Last week was roaring, thunderous. We got plenty of moves, and that's on every cap, almost every single cap. We had Bitcoin making new all-time highs in anticipation of it. I mean, we got our move off that, right? Now it's It's about seeing what happens next or what's coming next. But yeah, I want to say the Genius Act, absolutely. The Genius Bill, I should say, which is hilarious that they call it that, has definitely played a role on the market in the past 7 days, right?
It has to be called that way. It's coming from Trump, man. How else
It's
can it be
crazy.
called?
It's just crazy the world I'm living in. I feel like I'm in a timeline shift or something like that. It's just hilarious. I can't believe it. My this world is real. Honestly, can't. We had the Doge division. Now we have the Genius Bill, the Genius Act. It's just it's clown. It's clown stuff. But it's funny, right? It's all a meme at this point. So, oh, my alarm, my alert. Did your alert go off or mine?
I think that's mine. Yeah, it's mine. Yeah, market moving. I mean, Bitcoin not so much, but altcoins.
That's good. Stable Bitcoin is good. I just want it to be. Oh yeah, okay. We're getting a push down now. It's good. But yeah, to answer, I think I saw a question.
I'm not looking at the S1 level, but for me, it's a lot safer to look for a long above 118, 830. Just makes more sense to target that and then look for a long, like somewhere over here. Not right now. Just let the market do its thing. Again, it's kind of starting to chase the borrowed positions now. If you're in a bad borrowed position from a bit higher, you're going to start to feel the heat. So that's what we're looking at. All right, let's see. This is a level I want to look at too. For example, on Solana, S3. We're not going to long it straight into it. We're going to wait for this to print a low. I'm just estimating where I think the low could be. And if it gets a pop above here, then you play the mean reversion. And then if it wants to go back down, it could do that. So a number of things we could look at right now. This is the wipe that we were considering. Two opportunities here on Ethereum. Either we reclaim 3721, and that gives us a pivot 200 EMA flip, or we go for the S3 level, right? We keep it simple. That's what I'm looking at for today for so far. Yes, of course. As we were talking about tariffs and can't see it getting much worse, nobody shares us a very interesting headline. Trump threatens much higher tariffs unless countries agree to open their markets. Okay. It's like he listens to us. Still shitting the bed after it goes to 200. Seems fair to me. Again, healthy flushes across the board, at least in my eyes. I see them as healthy. Yeah, it's just market behavior, Trader M. You know how this goes. Yesterday I was convinced we'd get an imminent flush, and I think we're getting one now. This is the flush I was looking for. Nice little healthy reset across the board. It's good. And right now we can clearly see a rotation. It goes from Bitcoin to XRP to ETH to Sol. This has been our major rotation. So I assume when this flush is done, Bitcoin has fuel to move. Then we probably see it in the two other highest majors, and that's between XRP and Ethereum. So it's good. We got about 14 minutes here left. I don't think we have much left to discuss. So if we got some questions, preferably not where you think it's okay to bid certain alts, we'd love to hear them.
I'm I'm looking a bit lower, to be honest.
Oh, that's
I mean,
fine.
can always lead to a lower time frame bounce here and there, but I mean, the moves on altcoin indexes like total too have just been massive. I think we need a bit more of a cool off for the swing positions. A lot of apes need to be liquidated, man. Hate to say it, but that's how things work in this market. For swings to happen, always a possibility to sculpt here and there. But I'm more of a higher time frame trader, of course.
Yep. I mean, I mean, these flushes are nice. This is what I'm looking for. So I'm not going to get too crazy about it. But again, Bitcoin decides to break down here, then it can get pretty nasty for everything else. Bitcoin dominance making a nice little rally here. All makes sense. A lot of money being taken, profit being taken across the board. Already kind of checks out. Fortunately, this drop over here is going to ruin my idea. Super lame. Yeah, today could be a day we get some nice nice opportunities. How do we get better in macro analysis? I think by just understanding the prints and the data that does release first and foremost is a great step in improvement. Get a macro calendar out. Start with that. Start with that. At least know every event that's coming up. That's going to help you a lot. For macro is about finding out like which data prints mean the most to you. And any significant changes in them, how if you could find a correlation to how they affect the market and the way you look at it, that's going to be the best way to improve at it.
I got my levels, Orphex, shared in my corner. I'm not really interested in swing trades anytime soon without a deeper correction, but that's my style.
Oh no, that was my alert. Okay, that was my alert that went off. It was ADA.
No, that was ETH for me going into oversold now 30 minutes.
Okay, that's crazy because okay, mine hit at the same time as yours. Then like I literally got one as well. Crazy.
Well, I mean the market is dropping for both of us at the same time, right? So makes sense for the alerts to come in simultaneously.
Do we think
That
in the
was-
next months ETH outperforms alts the way BTC did for years? ETH outperforms alts. It's not quite sure how you're describing that. I mean, in terms of outperformance at this point, when you compare ETH to alt, it's whoever has the least amount of drawdown at this point, right? So I would think yes, it has, right? But alts, when we say alts, it's so broad. There's so many at this point. There's so many. Oh, there's another alert for me.
market is moving. This dominance rising a bit, so be careful with leverage positions on altcoins.
Woo! Good lordy, lordy.
Oh, we didn't have this in a long time, and I felt like this was needed.
Yep. Very much so. Okay, ruin my idea. It's all good. It's all good. See if Solana can make a low here. Reclaim 189. And then I think we get a mean reversion. If it wants to show more weakness, we can just do that, right? So that's what we're looking at. I'm just going to wait a bit. But starting to flush out our oscillator. So we should see all signs lead to a mean reversion here, but we'll see. Got to let it do its original wipe. Because again, now you're starting to get the liquidations pouring in.
As I said, the problem is that a lot of borrowed position, right? So TA can be a little less reliable, right? Because there's just so many positions getting stopped out and liquidated on a very normal drop. I mean, this is nothing extraordinary. If you look at Bitcoin, for example, just look at the daily, for example, it's barely moving.
Yeah,
It
that
just shows you how irrational the market has been, right? So
yeah, I mean, most of the almost all the liquidations, right? The majority of them, ETH, XRP, others, Solana, Doge, ADA, and of course Bitcoin. Always going to track 15 mil worth of liquidations. It's just such a large market cap in comparison to the rest. That's still peanuts, right? It's peanuts in comparison. But yeah, over $500 million liquidated already. All right, Solana, come on. You got this. I don't know if ETH gets this, a bit greedy. Let's see. Okay, I'm pretty sure I could still take a trade here on BTC if this is going to be my low now. Let's see. I don't like the risk to reward here. That's not good at all. I would have to get R3.
Usually what I do here is that I don't instantly jump into trades. Yes, of course, you can have a nice limit that fills with a wick. But I always like to let some price action develop, and let's see if there are, for example, divergences forming on the 30-minute, at least the 30-minute.
That's what I do too.
That's in my view then entering a setup without trying to catch a knife, right? It's always a bit. I mean, yes, you can end up with a worse entry, right, compared to when you catch something on a wick. But the RR is better, right? And the risk entering the trade is always a bit smaller. But it depends on the trading style, of course.
I do the same thing. Again, I'm just under like when I draw these things, it's like it's an estimate, right? I need a low to be established. I need my level to be reclaimed, and then I take a trade like that. But like again, for example, if we do what I'm looking for here, then my stop's obviously not here. It's gonna be somewhere towards here, right? Because it shouldn't be going lower once it's reclaimed. And the same thing for this. Like obviously, I'm not in a trade from here. I need this to develop, a low to be established. That way, I can understand and invalidation. And then my trigger for getting long is a reclaiming after a failed breakdown. It's stuff like that. Everybody has their own conditions and triggers, right? Mine are like this, right? So everything's different for everybody. But I definitely wait for confirmations. I'm a much better trader this way.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, pretty eventful morning. Probably not what people are expecting, but flush. Definitely something I was expecting. So I'm good with that. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Happy.
I mean, we've been talking about flushes for the past few days, so it's happening. And so I hope you took some profits and should be in a good position to capitalize on the opportunities.
Daily's hilarious on Bitcoin. It's barely budged. It's barely budged. It's a joke. This is a joke. This thing, man. Like it just never goes down anymore. Like it's just so annoying. So annoying, bro. Like
it will go down at some point, of course.
yeah, but like I miss my BitMEX days, bro. Where like this, like you would just see a wick like this, and it would just be back by the end of the day. Like I miss those. Like that's.
Oh yeah. I think it's matured a lot. It's matured a lot.
Yeah, it has. It absolutely has.
Yeah.
It 100%.
But it depends what you want. I mean, if you're a degenerate, you can still long and short altcoins. Basically, the same effect. If you want to stay with crypto and
same.
Of course, of course they're not. But I mean, like in terms of volatility, right?
Yeah,
and
of course.
If you want to stay within crypto and have exposure to a mature asset, then I mean, there's no way past Bitcoin, right? There's only one, and that's Bitcoin. It's not even Ethereum. Trust me, it's only Bitcoin.
All these months of streaming are paying off, eh, DV?
Oh man, if you knew my long-term plan for accumulating Bitcoin, you wouldn't know me. You wouldn't recognize me. I'm telling you that.
Love it.
Love it. I'm accumulating cheap dollars. I'm telling you that, and there's only one purpose for that: to buy Bitcoin at some point in the next 2-3 years.
There we go. Should be buying it all the time.
You are buying it all the time?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
It's like
we know that.
It's like, hey, bro, you want to turn your $50 into $500? That's what you're buying $500, like buying $500 of $50 type feeling. That's what it is. That's what it is. At any moment in time. For your sideline, you still think wait here, don't dive in, or get some in at least. These are fancy ways of asking us if we should buy the dip right now. We got flushes across the board. A lot of liquidations have been driven. You know, we're approaching some, at least for myself, some important intraday levels. So yeah, I'm definitely going to nibble a bit here, but that doesn't mean I'm going full port long, you know, in a stupid manner. But I'm going to try some risks over here. I've been waiting for a while, a good 3-4 days now, for something to kind of catapult downwards. So again, we are in the beginning of our New York session, right? The first 30 minutes have been quite brutal. right? But at the same time, nothing too crazy. It's just, again, we've catapulted on some major metrics, like without any stopping whatsoever. It's a bit ridiculous, really. So again, to expect it to cool off. If you're gonna play, you play mean reversions. You don't overstay your welcome, right? You never overstay your welcome. So it's your system, right? Does your system tell you have some plays you could take? If so, you take them, right? It's nothing's really changed. You just keep your risk in a reasonable, tolerable, manageable. Keep it at a manageable number is what I'm trying to say. You take a loss, you take a loss. Like you got to try something, right? I'll tell you one thing. I'm much more comfortable trying a play here than I was at 200. Like to put that into perspective. I'd much rather try a play here than 200. I'd much rather try a play towards 35.35 on Ethereum instead of 3,800, right? Like it's perspective, My oscillators are getting flushed. My intraday pivots towards the downside are getting touched now. So, if I'm not looking to take a play here, then when am I looking to take a play, especially on the intraday, right? So, just got to keep that in mind. The volume has been increasing. It's been quite a harsh sell-off so far, so it's good. We got flushes. So it matters. Oh my god, it's 10 o'clock. What the hell? DB, we're out of time.
Yeah.
We're out of time. We got a minute left. Can't answer any more questions because that would take longer than a minute.
No, Pocky's coming in right now. Market has been moving, right? So had to monitor that as well, of course. We're traders after all.
Yeah, we haven't had a single dull moment in almost 2 weeks now. It's either getting 5% candles to the upside, 10% candles to the upside, and now today 10% candles to the downside. As a trader, you can't really ask for more, right? There's always a reason to be looking at the chart right now, so take advantage of it. We're not saying to get careless, but definitely pay attention, study, see what works, what's not working, and that's it. All right. But yeah, we are out of time, everybody. Yeah, if it's your first time joining, thank you so much for joining us. The usual suspects, the OGs, we thank you for coming in every week, showing your support and taking an interest in learning. It's what makes it. It's what makes your time most valuable here. So we do applaud the new ones and the old ones. But with that being said, DB, it's been a tremendous stream, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And stay safe trading. Take care. I think some good opportunities are coming, but just be careful with the leverage side of things.
Yep. Be careful. Don't overexpose. I'm going to do some updates now. Probably get some levels going. Just follow up on my comments from yesterday. And if there's any questions that we didn't answer, if you were too shy to ask, message myself or DB. We'll get back to you. You know the drill, guys. So we're going to be signing out now. Pocky's coming up next, so don't go too far, I should say. And take care, guys. Trade safe, and we'll see each other next week. Take care, DB.
Take care. Have a good day.